Hi, thanks for taking the time to chat. I've been diving into some metrics and wanted to get your perspective on them, particularly the Scopus source title count.
Of course. Scopus source title count is an interesting metric. It essentially measures the diversity of an entity's disciplinary portfolio by counting the distinct titles where their publications appear. What have you found so far?
I found that the maximum value for this metric is 27 when using Scopus main categories and 334 when using Scopus subcategories. It's based on a journal-driven assignment, meaning every publication within a journal fits within the journal's scope.
Right. This method is straightforward for journals focused on a core field. However, it can be less accurate for multidisciplinary journals where publications might be relevant to various fields. For those cases, publication-driven assignment would be more appropriate.
That makes sense. I also read that Scopus source title count is considered both a disciplinarity metric and a power metric. It seems useful for comparing smaller entities or groups of researchers to highlight differences in their disciplinary portfolios.
Exactly. It's particularly helpful for benchmarking the diversity of disciplinary portfolios in collaboration networks or to demonstrate cross-disciplinarity. However, it's important to be cautious when using it to compare larger entities or those with distinct disciplinary profiles. The differences may reflect the size or inherent characteristics of the entities rather than their disciplinary diversity.
So, for larger institutions or countries, it's better to use a research area filter to narrow the focus, right?
Yes, narrowing the focus can provide more meaningful comparisons. Alternatively, using size-normalized metrics like academic corporate collaboration or publications in top journal percentiles can offer more accurate insights.
That's very helpful. I also noticed that Scopus source title count is part of a broader set of metrics, including scholarly output, citation count, and H-indices, which increase as the entity becomes bigger. How do these fit together?
Those metrics, often referred to as power metrics, generally scale with the size of the entity. They provide a comprehensive view of productivity and impact. In contrast, time-independent metrics like scholarly output and collaboration offer immediate, reliable information upon publication without waiting for data to accumulate.
Got it. So, when benchmarking productivity, it's crucial to consider the entity's size and disciplinary profile to ensure accurate comparisons.
Absolutely. Always consider the context and characteristics of the entities you're comparing. Metrics are powerful tools, but their utility depends on how appropriately they're applied.
Thanks. This conversation has really clarified how to use these metrics effectively.
Anytime. Metrics can be complex, but with careful application, they can yield valuable insights.
Hey, I've been looking deeper into the productivity metrics for small entities and the potential issues with Scopus coverage. Specifically, I'm concerned about how a single missing publication can significantly impact the perceived breadth of a disciplinary portfolio.
That's a valid concern. In small datasets, even one missing publication can skew the results. This is why it's crucial to be vigilant and consider using Scopus source title count primarily for slightly larger datasets. This way, any gaps in database coverage will likely affect all entities similarly and not invalidate the comparisons.
Right. I also came across some useful partner metrics that complement Scopus source title count, such as subject area count, which highlights an entity's publication portfolio. This, alongside other power metrics like scholarly output, citation count, and H-indices, seems to provide a more comprehensive view.
Exactly. Subject area count is indeed a logical complement to Scopus source title count. It helps in understanding the breadth of an entity's publication portfolio. The power metrics you mentioned tend to increase as the entity grows, offering insights into productivity and impact.
I'm particularly interested in the H-indices. I understand that the H-index balances productivity and citation impact. There are also variants like the G-index, M-index, and H5 index. Can you explain how these differ and when they are most useful?
Sure. The H-index is an industry standard that provides a balance between productivity and citation impact. For instance, an H-index of 9 means the top 9 most cited publications have each received at least 9 citations. The G-index emphasizes the most highly cited papers, offering extra weighting to them. It's always the same as or higher than the H-index.
And the M-index?
The M-index adjusts the H-index by taking into account the number of years since the first publication, making it useful for comparing researchers with different career lengths. The H5 index uses a 5-year publication and citation window, allowing for tracking over time in a more dynamic way.
That's really insightful. So, these H indices can be used to benchmark activity by balancing productivity and citation impact. They're also considered power metrics and are useful for various entities, from researchers to institutions.
Exactly. They provide a comprehensive view by considering both the total number of publications and citations. Each variant has its strengths and can be chosen based on the specific context and comparison needs.
This makes sense. By using these metrics wisely, we can get a clearer picture of an entity's productivity and impact, despite potential gaps in the data.
Absolutely. The key is to apply these metrics carefully, considering the size and disciplinary profile of the entities you're comparing. This ensures accurate and meaningful insights.
Thanks. This discussion has really helped me understand how to effectively use these metrics.
Anytime. Metrics are powerful tools when used correctly. Good luck with your research.
Hey, I've been thinking about how to benchmark performance over time, especially using the H5 index. I understand it uses a 5-year publication and citation window, which allows for consistent comparison.
Yes, the H5 index is great for tracking performance over time. However, it's important to use it carefully, especially when comparing entities of significantly different sizes. The values of these metrics are limited by the scholarly output and tend to increase with the size of the data set.
That's true. I read that the M-index can be useful within a discipline to account for different career lengths. It focuses on annual productivity and citations received, which can highlight performance differences more accurately.
Exactly. The M-index helps when comparing researchers with different career lengths within the same field. It adjusts for career length, showing variations in annual productivity and citation impact, which are the performance aspects of interest.
And when benchmarking entities within different disciplines, even if they have similar sizes, we need to be cautious because the H-indices values are limited by the citation count of an entity. Fields like biochemistry, genetics, and molecular biology tend to have higher citation counts compared to others.
Yes, this reflects distinct publication and citation behaviors between subject fields. It's not advisable to compare the H-indices of entities from entirely different disciplines without considering these differences. Applying the research area filter can help focus on one field common between all entities being compared.
That makes sense. When communicating the scale of productivity and citation impact, it's advised to use scholarly output and citation count, especially for larger entities. But for smaller entities, gaps in Scopus coverage can significantly impact apparent performance.
Precisely. A single missing publication can skew the results for small entities, while the effect of one missing publication from a large set might be negligible. Vigilance is key, especially for early career researchers. For larger data sets, potential gaps in database coverage are likely to have a similar effect on all entities, making comparisons more reliable.
Partner metrics like scholarly output, subject area count, and Scopus source title count provide comprehensive insights. They are useful for both magnitude and diversity of productivity and impact.
Exactly. These metrics, along with others like collaboration and publications in top journal percentiles, offer immediate, reliable information upon publication, without relying on the passing of time.
I also came across the views count metric. It indicates the total usage impact by counting how many views an entity's publications receive. This metric is generated from usage data in Scopus and includes abstract views and clicks on full-text links.
Views count is indeed valuable. It accumulates as soon as an output is available online, providing immediate insights into the interest and research outputs. This can help spot emerging trends or research talents more quickly than citation activity.
And it also reflects the interest of a broader research community, including students and corporate researchers who might not publish or cite extensively. This makes it particularly useful for demonstrating the impact of research expected to be read rather than cited.
Absolutely. Usage data offers a broader perspective on the impact of research, complementing traditional citation-based metrics. Plus, Scopus usage data is counter-compliant, ensuring consistent and credible reporting of online usage statistics.
This conversation has really helped me understand how to use these metrics effectively for benchmarking performance and understanding the impact of research.
I'm glad to hear that. Metrics are powerful tools when used appropriately. Keep these considerations in mind, and you'll gain valuable insights from your analyses.
Hey, I've been looking into views count as a metric for assessing research impact. I understand it's a usage impact metric and a power metric since its value tends to increase with the size of the entity.
That's right. Views count can be very informative, especially when displayed in a chart or table with months and years. However, remember that the year refers to when items became available online, not when they were viewed.
Got it. So, this metric can be useful for benchmarking the views received by similarly sized entities in similar disciplines, such as multidisciplinary institutions or international collaboration networks.
Exactly. It's also helpful for showcasing the performance of larger entities compared to their peers, or highlighting entities with a few highly viewed publications that positively affect the overall dataset.
And for early indications of interest in new outputs or early career researchers' work, right?
Yes, views count gives an early indication of interest, reflecting the broader research community's interest, including students and corporate researchers who might not publish or cite much.
I see. It's also useful for demonstrating interest in disciplines with low citation potential, like clinical research and the arts and humanities, where works are generally well read but poorly cited.
Absolutely. However, use this metric with care when benchmarking visibility between entities of different sizes, as it might reflect entity size rather than actual differences in views received. Using size-normalized metrics like views per publication or field-weighted views impact can help.
And for entities with distinct disciplinary profiles, the average usage varies. So, it's not advisable to compare without accounting for these differences. Using a research area filter or field-weighted views impact can help focus comparisons.
Exactly. Be mindful of the distribution of views across an entity's outputs, as a few highly viewed publications can mask a lot of unviewed or poorly viewed material.
What about potential gaps in the database coverage for small entities?
For small entities, even a single missing output can significantly impact apparent usage. Limiting the use of views count to larger datasets in the same discipline can help ensure any gaps affect all entities similarly and don't invalidate comparisons.
That makes sense. Also, people don't like seeing a dip in trends in recent years due to recent outputs having less time to receive views. Using field-weighted views impact can help avoid this issue.
Correct. Partner metrics like views per publication and field-weighted views impact offer complementary perspectives. Field-weighted views impact, in particular, accounts for differences in entity sizes and viewing behavior between disciplines, avoiding the recent year's dip.
And outputs in top views percentiles indicate how many publications fall within the most viewed percentiles of the Scopus database, right?
Yes. This metric shows the extent of an entity's presence in the top 1%, 5%, 10%, or 25% of the most viewed publications. It's calculated using view thresholds from the Scopus database per publication year.
So, Cival uses these thresholds to calculate the number of an entity's publications within each percentile range, which can be filtered by publication type.
Exactly. This way, you can assess the visibility of an entity's outputs in a structured manner, taking into account the differences in viewing behavior across different disciplines and publication types.
Thanks. This has been really enlightening. Understanding how to use these metrics effectively will definitely help me in my research.
Continuing from where we left off, it looks like outputs in top views percentiles can only be calculated once enough data is available to divide publications into 100 percentiles, which might not be possible early in the publication year.
Yes, that's correct. For field weighting, the document views ratio is used instead of views to compute percentile values, similar to field-weighted citation impact. The displayed value is the number of outputs meeting the benchmark.
This metric is useful for benchmarking contributions to highly viewed publications among similarly sized entities in the same disciplines. It's recommended to use the percentage option when comparing different sized entities.
Right. This helps normalize the variable of entity size. It's also useful for distinguishing entities with similar performance on other metrics, showcasing prestigious entities with highly visible publications.
However, comparing entities in different disciplines isn't advisable without accounting for disciplinary differences. Using the research area filter can help focus on a common field.
Exactly. Trust in Cival metrics might be an issue, as validating view thresholds can be difficult. Simpler metrics like views per publication can help build trust.
Views per publication is a usage impact metric, calculated similarly to citations per publication. It shows the average usage impact of an entity's publications.
Yes. It's displayed in charts or tables with months or years, based on the date items became available online. This metric is useful for benchmarking average usage impact within a body of work or comparing average visibility across entities of different sizes, but related disciplines.
It can also showcase entities with a few highly viewed papers, give early indications of interest in new outputs, and demonstrate engagement from the whole research community, including non-publishing sectors.
Correct. This metric is particularly valuable for demonstrating interest in disciplines with low citation potential, like clinical research and the arts and humanities, which are well-read but poorly cited.
But it should be used carefully when benchmarking usage across distinct disciplinary profiles, as average usage varies between disciplines. Accounting for these differences is crucial.
Absolutely. Using metrics like views per publication, alongside others like field-weighted views impact and outputs in top views percentiles, provides a comprehensive view of an entity's impact and visibility in the research community.
When comparing entities made up of a mixture of disciplines, such as an interdisciplinary collaboration network, it's advised to apply a research area filter to focus on one field that is common between all the entities. Alternatively, you can select field-weighted views impact, which will take this into account.
That makes sense. Revealing the extent to which each of an entity's outputs are viewed is important, right? One or a few publications with a very high number of views can conceal a sizable body of unviewed or poorly viewed material.
Exactly. There may also be gaps in output in the database coverage, especially for Scopus usage. This mainly applies when entities are small, and a single missing publication may have a significant negative impact on apparent usage.
So, the only way to account for this is to be vigilant. It might be a good idea to limit the use of views per publication to comparing larger data sets in the same discipline, where gaps in the database coverage likely have a similar effect on all entities being viewed and do not invalidate the comparison.
Right. When entities are small, the metric may fluctuate significantly and appear unstable over time, even with complete database coverage. Views per publication calculates an average value and is strongly influenced by outlying publications in a small data set.
I see. People using the metrics don't like to see a trend that dips in recent years. This typically happens with views per publication because the most recent publications have had less time to receive views than older ones. Users are advised to use field-weighted views impact to avoid this drop if it is a concern.
Yes. Useful partner metrics are field-weighted views impact, which is a complement to views per publication and takes into account behavioral differences between disciplines. Field-weighted views impact also avoids the dip in recent years due to the most recent publications having had less time to receive views than older ones.
That's helpful. So, Field-weighted views impact indicates how the number of views received by an entity's publications compares with the average number of views received by all other similar publications in the same data universe. How do the views received by this entity's publications compare with the world average for that database?
Similar publications are those in the database with the same publication year, publication type, and discipline, as represented by the Scopus classification system.
Exactly. For example, if a publication peer belongs to both parasitology and microbiology, it should not have double the influence of a publication that belongs to only one or the other of these. This is accounted for by distributing publication and views counts equally across multiple categories. Publication P would be counted as 0.5 publications for each of parasitology and microbiology, and its views would also be shared equally between them.
So, field-weighted views impact is a usage impact metric.
Correct. Field-weighted views impact may be displayed in a chart or table with months and/or years. In Serval, the year shows the date on which items became available online. This may be different from the official publication date. They do not refer to the years in which publications were viewed.
This metric is useful to benchmark entities regardless of differences in their size, disciplinary profile, age, and publication type composition, such as an institution and departments within that institution.
Yes, and it helps to easily understand the prestige of an entity's usage performance by observing the extent to which its field-weighted views impact is above or below the world average of 1.00. It also presents usage data in a way that inherently takes into account the lower number of views received by relatively recent publications, thus avoiding the dip in recent years seen with views count and views per publication.
That's useful for gaining insight into the usage performance of an entity in a discipline with relatively poor database coverage, since gaps in the database will apply equally to the entity's publications and to the set of similar publications.
Absolutely. It's also useful as a default to view usage data, since it considers multiple variables that can affect other metrics. And it gives an early indication of the interest in output that has recently become available, for example in the very early stages of a new strategy, or of early career researchers.
When comparing entities made up of a mixture of disciplines, such as an interdisciplinary collaboration network, it's advised to apply a research area filter to focus on one field that is common between all the entities, or to select field-weighted views impact, which will take this into account.
That makes sense. Revealing the extent to which each of an entity's outputs are viewed is important. One or a few publications with a very high number of views can conceal a sizable body of unviewed or poorly viewed material.
Exactly. There may also be gaps in output in the database coverage, especially for Scopus usage. This mainly applies when entities are small, and a single missing publication may have a significant negative impact on apparent usage.
So, the only way to account for this is to be vigilant. It might be a good idea to limit the use of views per publication to comparing larger data sets in the same discipline, where gaps in the database coverage likely have a similar effect on all entities being viewed and do not invalidate the comparison.
Right. When entities are small, the metric may fluctuate significantly and appear unstable over time, even with complete database coverage. Views per publication calculates an average value and is strongly influenced by outlying publications in a small data set.
I see. People using the metrics don't like to see a trend that dips in recent years. This typically happens with views per publication because the most recent publications have had less time to receive views than older ones. Users are advised to use field-weighted views impact to avoid this drop if it is a concern.
Yes. Useful partner metrics are field-weighted views impact, which is a complement to views per publication and takes into account behavioral differences between disciplines. Field-weighted views impact also avoids the dip in recent years due to the most recent publications having had less time to receive views than older ones.
That's helpful. So, field-weighted views impact indicates how the number of views received by an entity's publications compares with the average number of views received by all other similar publications in the same data universe. How do the views received by this entity's publications compare with the world average for that database?
Similar publications are those in the database with the same publication year, publication type, and discipline, as represented by the Scopus classification system. A field-weighted views impact of 1.00 indicates that the entity's publications have been viewed exactly as would be expected based on the global average for similar publications in the same database. The field-weighted views impact of world, that is, the entire Scopus database, is 1.00. A field-weighted views impact of more than 1.00 indicates that the entity's publications have been viewed more than would be expected based on the global average for similar publications in the same database. A field-weighted views impact of less than 1.00 indicates that the entity's publications have been viewed less than would be expected based on the global average for similar publications in the same database. For example, 0.55 means 45% fewer views than the world average within the same database.
Publications can be allocated to more than one category in the Scopus classification system, right? When calculating the expected views for similar publications, it's important that these multi-category publications do not exert too much weight.
Exactly. For example, if a publication P belongs to both parasitology and microbiology, it should not have double the influence of a publication that belongs to only one or the other of these. This is accounted for by distributing publication and views counts equally across multiple categories. Publication P would be counted as 0.5 publications for each of parasitology and microbiology, and its views would also be shared equally between them.
So, field-weighted views impact is a usage impact metric.
Correct. Field-weighted views impact may be displayed in a chart or table with months and/or years. In Civol, the year shows the date on which items became available online. This may be different from the official publication date. They do not refer to the years in which publications were viewed.
This metric is useful to benchmark entities regardless of differences in their size, disciplinary profile, age, and publication type composition, such as an institution and departments within that institution.
Yes, and it helps to easily understand the prestige of an entity's usage performance by observing the extent to which its field-weighted views impact is above or below the world average of 1.00. It also presents usage data in a way that inherently takes into account the lower number of views received by relatively recent publications, thus avoiding the dip in recent years seen with views count and views per publication.